Well, let's bring in our panel of political commentators now. Susan Smith is a Liberal commentator, Tim Powers is a Conservative commentator, and Tom Parkin is an NDP commentator. Susan, let me start with you with the defection of Jenica Atwin today, leaving the Green Party for the Liberal Party. How important is this pickup for the Liberals, especially if we think a federal election may be just a few months away?
Well, I think it shows some momentum for the Liberal Party. When an MP is disgruntled with his or her party, they have the choice of where they want to go, if they're going to cross the floor or cross to another party. And Jenica Atwin, who was viewed as a rising star in the Green Party, has decided to join the Liberal Party. She's obviously decided that makes the best hopes for her Liberal prospects, that best aligns with her climate action and her mental health and her mental health advocacy and other things, and that the Liberals best represent her, the best chance for Fredericton. So I think that's good news, and it's a good sign for the Liberals.
Tim, how do you see this?
Well, it's not good news for the Green Party. I think, as always seems to be the case, as they get closer to an election, they seem to have a big outbreak of infighting. So losing an MP, their first MP in Atlantic Canada, is not good. Sure, today it's beneficial for the Liberals. That Fredericton seat, as we all know, is a tough one. It's gone back and forth over the last couple of years, a couple of elections between the Conservatives and the Liberals, and then was taken by Miss Atwin. So it'll be interesting to see if she can hold that. But it's a good day for the Liberal Party when they get a new MP, particularly as we're apparently close to an election. Peter.
Tom, how do you see this defection and what it means?
Well, I think I see it as a very cynical move, unfortunately, and it's the kind of thing that breeds cynicism amongst voters, and I think we deserve a whole lot better than that. The people of Fredericton voted for somebody who stood with the Green Party, I presume because they didn't like massive subsidies to fossil fuel industry, and they didn't like Mr. Trudeau buying a pipeline for tar sands oil, and yet here's their MP that they voted for in good faith, crossing over to exactly the party that she used to oppose. To me, that's wrong. It's not democratic. It shouldn't have happened. And it's an offense both to the voters and of that riding and to the parliament itself, which is supposed to represent the people as they vote. I know they vote for individuals. We see a name on the ballot, but come on. We all know in practicality, people vote for the candidate of the party of their choice.
I mean,
so I don't think it's a good day, Peter.
All right. Susan, why don't you jump back in? But also in the context of what does it mean for look, the party's just gone through, well, not just, but recently, it's got a new leader in ANNAMIE Paul. And if we've got an election, we're going to talk more about that coming up in the not too distant future. How damaging is this for the leadership of ANNAMIE Paul, or is this something she can recover from fairly easily?
Well, I will tackle that, but it's also, I think, to Tom's point, I saw NDP MPs tweeting saying she's a great MP, it's too bad she didn't join us. So I'm not sure how upset Tom would have been had she joined the NDP today. But is it damaging for ANNAMIE Paul? Yes. Are people following the machinations of the Green Party day by day at the present juncture? No. Can she recover from it? I don't know. I don't think as a new leader, she's been able to grab a hold of the party. She doesn't have a massive presence, certainly in Ottawa, and especially not so much in Ottawa, I would say beyond the country. There's the challenge that Elizabeth May is still there and very present. And I think probably if you ask people very quickly in a poll, who's the leader of the Green Party, they'd still say Elizabeth May. So that's not helpful to ANNAMIE Paul as she tries to set her own mark on the party. Disagreements, there seem to be many, and that's not a good sign for her leadership.
Let me hear you on that, Tim, and the challenge. What new challenges does this now present for ANNAMIE Paul?
To also put a bit of an Atlantic lens on it, too. I mean, the Greens have been doing better in Atlantic Canada. As you know, they were the opposition, or still are the opposition in Prince Edward Island. I think, if I recall correctly, they have 3 seats in the provincial legislature in New Brunswick. So ANNAMIE Paul should be finding ways to work with these Atlantic Greens, who I think have different views than some of the West Coast Greens. So it's not helpful to her. I wonder how that regional dynamic will play out for Jenica Atwin's re-election chances, because the New Brunswick Green leader certainly is well known. And well liked in New Brunswick. He hasn't been applauding Jenica Atwin's move there. So her re-election prospects, she may think are better going to the Liberals. But as I say, Fredericton's been a contested seat, and the Greens in Atlantic Canada have some organizing capacity and the ability to disrupt, if not find a new candidate who could challenge her for her re-election potential.
Tom, let me pivot here. The House of Commons is going to wind down in the next 10 days or so. Liberals and Conservatives are locked in this procedural battle in the House now as the government tries to push through key bills before the recess. Liberals and Conservatives blaming each other here for parliamentary delays, filibusters at committees. Are we seeing the stage being set here for the narrative that Justin Trudeau wants to be able to go to the Governor-General on his own when we get a Governor-General and say, look, this is a parliament that no longer works. That's why I need to go to the people to get a new mandate and hopefully a majority government.
I'm not sure if we have a Governor General or not these days, but theoretically, anyway, Peter, I think that is what is being told to us. And there's a certain amount of hypocrisy, of course, on the Liberal side, because they themselves are a big part of the filibustering that's going on. And they also held back a number of very important bills to kind of, till the end, rather than bringing them up and giving them the time. So I think we're watching the narrative being developed by Mr. Trudeau. I think Mr. O'Toole has foolishly fallen into it by being obstinate and providing the evidence to Canadians that there's at least some resonance to this, some truth to this. And if I was Mr. O'Toole, I mean, he's going to lose seats at the level that he's at right now. And everything that we've been going through politically for the last number of months, I don't see it changing for him. Right. So I think he's made another misplay. We'll see, but the odds, I think, are very good that the House is going to rise, and we're going to see an election call, around Labor Day. Yeah,
okay. Susan, what are we seeing here? Is this, if you're a Liberal and you want an election, and you think the timing's right for an election, is this, standoff in Parliament or ongoing, procedural fight in Parliament exactly what you're looking for to be able to go to the Canadian people?
It's helpful, I think, because if, Parliament either has to work or it doesn't have to work. And if the Prime Minister and the folks around the Prime Minister think the tea leaves are right to go to the polls this fall, I don't think it would be before that. I put Election Day on the 25th of October, actually, because of MP pensions, too, for those elected in 2015. But, I think going this fall and showing that Parliament is working, the Prime Minister could argue he could request a mandate to implement the economic recovery. He could argue that, in addition to arguing that there's dysfunction within Parliament. But if vaccines are going into arms, which they are, 7.1 million doses of Moderna coming next week, if schools get to be reopened at the local levels, if the economy starts to reopen, the borders reopen, people are traveling again and feeling better, it would be a good opportunity for them to go.
Tim, let me finish with you. Is the die being cast here for a fall vote?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with parliamentary work functions or nothing, function or dysfunction, Peter. It has everything to do with the Delta variant. If the Delta variant is held off and there is no fourth wave, I'd venture that we will be heading to the polls sometime or election will be called sometime after the middle of August, and we will be voting in September or October, depending on when that happens. So I'd be very surprised, as I say. The Delta variant's controlling the tune here, nothing else.
All right, so the election's all about the Delta Dawn, not the fights in the House of Commons. All right, thank you all. Thank you all for being here, and we'll talk again soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.